All right, SEO. You probably heard this before, but have you ever heard of technical SEO? Probably not. So in this video, we're going to cover best practices and the tools that we use to measure our technical SEO. All right, and as you can see with the graphic next to me, that technical SEO is the foundation for your SEO practices. What is technical SEO? It's a lot of different things, but the three main things that we focus on is website load times, server configurations, and mobile first indexing. So the next part of the video is going to cover the tools that we use to measure our websites and some server configurations and what you can do moving forward. Today I'm going to cover the new updated Google PageSpeed Insights tool. This tool is going to help you optimize your website so you can start ranking better in Google. This tool was just updated in November 2018. So you can visit the URL below in the description, and while you're in there you can download our SEO checklist. This is going to give you our top 10 must-haves to help optimize your website. So once you go to the URL, you will enter in the website that you want to run the audit. Once you put the website in there, click Analyze, and it's going to kick out a score. So I ran this for our homepage, wikidesign.com. So once you get there, you'll see two tabs up here, mobile and desktop. Desktop is one speed and mobile is one speed. So the whole purpose of this tool is to get in the green. Google's said once you're in the green, you're good. You don't have to try to, get 100. 100's great, but pretty difficult to get, especially on mobile. Desktop is a little bit easier because they're not throttling the internet speed, whereas mobile, I believe they're trying to run it at like a 3G level, so they're trying to figure out how slow your website is loading for people on a 3G network. So once you run that, they're going to give you a whole list of things to, update. And so I passed all of these audits. So if you have a lot of optimizations that you have to make on your website, it should appear under opportunities here. So what I'm going to do is give you just like 3 or so of the top audits that you want to really pay attention to. So one of the first things you want to make sure that you are passing is right here. It's called the server response time. So I believe Google wants you to be under 600 ms. So what that means is they want you to make sure you're below that 600 ms before they give you the green. What that means is the time to actually ping your server needs to be under a reasonable time. So if you're on a shared server, that's going to fluctuate quite a bit. You might hit that once in a while, but if you're on a cheap shared hosting, it's going to be hard to get this. So I'll never recommend a shared hosting. I believe once you go to VPS and above, you should be able to hit this with no problem. So that's one of the most important ones is your host. The next one is your image sizes. There's kind of two things you can look at here. Your image sizes, you want to make sure they're optimized. And there's a lot of tools online that will help you optimize your images. So you want to make sure your images, I kind of have a rule of thumb, or no more than like a meg is a lot. If you can get it below, 500K for each image, that's key. And then you can even optimize them even more. 200K, 300K, 20K, whatever. You want to get the lower the better without losing quality, really. And another optimization for images you can look into is what they call lazy loading. And Google's starting to really penalize pages that don't have this. I actually just enabled this on our website because they were dinging us quite a few points. Basically what this means is they want you to load the images as the user needs them. So, for example, if your website is, let's say, 2 megs of images, and above the fold, which means the first screen that the user sees, let's say there's only one image on there, and let's say there's 4 or 5 megs below that. With lazy loading, what that's going to do is make sure you don't load the images below what the user is seeing. Because there's times, especially on mobile, when you don't want to load up 5 megs worth of images. You just want to load up the one that you're seeing. So doing what they call lazy loading, it's just going to load what the user sees, and then it will load as the user scrolls down the website. So this is a really good tool. And in the future, they have said that Chrome is going to have this built into the browser. So for the time being, it's a really big consideration into getting a green, a fast score. And one of the other tools or audits that we recommend looking into is what they call minifying your code. So what that basically means is when you have your CSS files or your JavaScript files, there might be a lot of white space. There's a lot of empty characters in there, and each little character is taking up one little piece of information. So what this does is it will you can use tools that will help what they call minify, which compress all that dead space basically. So it's going to make your file sizes smaller. That's going to help out a lot too. So I covered just a few tools here. As you can see, there's a whole bunch. And the good thing about what Google's doing with this tool is they give you a page, and you can click learn more, and it will give you detailed information on how to fix the problem. So like I said, the goal is to make sure you're in the green and you're good to go. All right, and the next tool is called Chrome Lighthouse Audit. This is an overlooked tool that a lot of people don't even know exists. So if you have the latest version of Chrome, this is already built into the browser. So what it does is it allows you to run a local audit on your website without having to go to another URL or a third party. So what you do is you go to the website you want to run the test, right click, go to inspect. I usually pull this over, and up here where it says audits, click that, and we'll go down the list real quick. Usually what I do is mobile. I check these boxes. I check them all besides progressive web apps, because there's not a progressive web app on here. You could do throttling, no throttling, so I usually do no throttling. So this won't take too long, but yeah, once you click this, it's going to run. You can see it's running the audit in real time, and once it finishes, it's going to kick out the scores for performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO. So as you can see, we have 100, 92, 93, 100. So similar to the other Page Insights tool, you want to make sure you're in the green and at least in the high 80s or 90s. So let's see. So yeah, when you scroll down, you can see if there's any extra things that you can do to get even a better score. But some of these, like this, for example, they want you to change the cache lifetime. So they want you to change it so it stays cached longer in the browser. It's not really necessary, but yeah, you want to make sure your performance is at 100 if you can. SEO at 100. Accessibility is kind of hard to get 100, but you can get there if you kind of go down with what they're saying. So for example, they're not liking the contrast between the text and the background. So you can play with that if you need to be more, if you want to get a higher accessibility score. Yeah, best practices. This is a really good tool. I'll say right out of the gate, most web hosts, if you don't have HTTP2 active, I just activated this on our server, you're going to get dinged some points here. So this is a really important one, and I'll go over this later in the video what this means. Yeah, so that's the scores. You can always look at the speed index and all this. These are good scores to kind of go by. But that covers this tool. And like I said, this is all, if you have Chrome, the latest version of Chrome, it will run the test and do it all locally, so you don't have to worry about going to another website or anything. All right, and what I'm going to show you right now is a demo of how HTTP technology works. It's pretty cool. It may not look very exciting on the front end, but when you look at how it works in the back end, you can understand why there's a big push to start using this. So on this website, this image right here is split up into 200 small images, and it's running on the old HTTP 1.1. So this is really old, and when it loads each image one at a time, like a waterfall. So I'll hit refresh so you can see how it like loads in all the images. Now when I run HTTP2 test, it's going to load it all at once, like kind of down. See, boom. See how much quicker? So to load up 200 small images, 1.13 seconds compared to 0.277 seconds. So when you open up the inspect element, this is pretty cool. So if you go to network, I'm going to do a hard refresh. So this is going to be on HTTP 1. So you can see right here, here are all the images that were loaded. So you can see where my cursor is. That's kind of what they call a waterfall, where it just loads one image. It always has to wait for the next one to load, then you keep going, keep going, keep going. Now when I run the HTTP2 test, you're going to see the waterfall is just one long line right here. See, you could always look at protocol. You have to enable this part, but you could see protocol H2, so you could see it all loads at one time, all at once. So that takes a huge load off of the server, and it delivers the website quicker for the end user. So this is a global setting that you're going to have to change on the server level. So if you have a cPanel, you can do it pretty easily, but in most cases you can just contact your web host and hopefully they can enable it for you. I would recommend, if your web host doesn't have this enabled, or if you don't have the ability to upgrade, I would recommend leaving that host, because this is a tool that isn't going anywhere. It's just going to keep getting better and better over time. So if you're stuck at 1.1, your websites aren't going to load as fast. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I would recommend reaching out to your hosting company and trying to get this enabled. All right, and now I'm going to go over PHP and why you need to upgrade. So I believe there's a huge amount of websites still on 5.6. I don't know the exact number. You're never going to get an exact number of websites that are still on 5.6, but it's a huge percentage of it. And as you can see, if you look over on this chart right here, currently I made this video in November 2018. So everybody has 1 month, almost 2 months to upgrade before 5.6 is completely no longer supported. So that's a huge problem when it comes to security. So what I've done recently is I'm upgrading all my client websites. I was on 7, now I'm going to 7.2. So what you need to do is make sure that whatever version of PHP you're on is currently being supported. So since I upgraded recently to 7.2, I'll be security supported until 2020, so plenty of time. But rule of thumb for me is at the end of every year, I always kind of just make sure that you're current on your PHP. So next year at this time, I'll probably be on 7.3. So it's good to always upgrade. There's no reason to not upgrade. So this chart on the left shows the speed comparisons between running a legacy 5.6 up to running 7.2. And I can tell you, I've upgraded several client websites from 5.6 to 7, and it's a huge, huge increase in speed. So if your website is crawling and you're on 5.6, I guarantee you, as soon as you upgrade to 7, you're going to see a huge difference in speed. So yeah, rule of thumb, always stay current, because if you're not, you're going to run into a lot of security issues. And so if you're not aware, PHP has to be upgraded on the server. So if you're at a web hosting company, again, and they don't support the newest versions of PHP, that's a huge red flag. That's your red flag to make sure that you get away from that hosting company, because they're not staying current. I would say most hosting companies, they know the importance of upgrading the PHP version. So most will have that option. But let's say you're at a hosting company and all they offer is 7. You can see right here, 7 is no longer supported come December 3rd this year. So if they only have 7, that's worse than 5.6 at this point. So you need to get onto 7.1, 7.2, So always keep current. And to get these type of charts, you could just go to Google, type in PHP current versions, and you'll be able to see this chart right on the php.net website. So yeah, again, always make sure you're current and you will be good to go. All right, now I'm going to cover the importance of using HTTPS. So this is straight from the Google blog. So let's see. So yeah, you probably have started to notice this in your Chrome browser. If a website doesn't have HTTPS on their website, they're starting to show this not secure in the URL bar. This started back in July 2018, I believe, with Chrome 68. This is a huge upgrade. For some existing websites, it's kind of a pain to make this migration, but all new websites moving forward, you should always start with HTTPS. There's no reason not to at this point. So you want to make sure your website is secure. So this allows the traffic between the server and the user to be a lot more secure, encrypted, whatever you want to say. So Google takes this very seriously. So a good example is, if you have a competitor that you're trying to outrank and they don't have HTTPS, this could be enough jump in your rankings that you might actually pass them up. It's hard to get a straight answer, of course, because it's Google, of how much ranking power having HTTPS could do. I don't know, some say more than others, who knows. That's why it's always good to just, at this point, it's a best practice. So there's no reason not to do it, because you can actually get these SSL certificates for free now. It used to be, you had to pay $100 a year, whatever it may be. You could still do that route if you need kind of like a warranty with your security. But if you can enable what they call Let's Encrypt on your server, then anytime you create a new website, you can easily, with the flip of a switch, I can activate HTTPS with Let's Encrypt on the server. In our case, we use a VPS server with cPanel on it. So within the back end, it's really easy to enable Let's Encrypt. So here's the Let's Encrypt website, and like I said, they're free certificates, and you could see there are some major brands using this. So some web hosting companies can offer this on their control panel. So if you have the ability to do it easily, just do it. There's no reason to not use it moving forward. If you have to migrate an existing website from HTTP to secure, it's going to require you to kind of go into the database and upgrade stuff. So it's a little more of a technical upgrade, but it needs to be done at this point, because you don't want, especially if you're running an e-commerce website, you have to be SSL certificates on there. But yeah, you don't want your users to, visit your website and they see that ugly, not secure next to your URL. So Google has made this push pretty aggressively, but I think it's a really important thing moving forward, because security, a lot of web developers need to focus on security these days. All right, as you can see, technical SEO is pretty technical and complicated. We believe with a solid foundation that this is going to help your overall SEO strategies. Thanks for watching, and make sure you reach out to us at wikidesign.com.